Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Rip Van Winkle, written by Washington Irving. We read how this man was a very kind-hearted, helpful man, but the only negative aspect about his personality was that he was very lazy and he did not like to work. Because of this, his wife kept on scolding him the whole day, and in order to run away from his wife's anger, he used to go to the woods or he used to spend the whole day in fishing. But one day he climbed a mountain. He climbed the top of the Catskill mountain, and there he heard somebody calling out his name. On turning around, he saw a very strange looking man who was carrying a barrel on his back. The man asked for his help. Rip carried that barrel with him and he met a lot of people who looked strange. The man gave them all the liquor, the alcohol which was there in the barrel, and they all drank it. Even Rip drank a few glasses because he was very thirsty, and he slept. When he woke up, he saw that he was alone. His gun, which was clean and well oiled, was now rusted. His dog was gone. He had difficulty in getting up. But then he was scared because he did not know what he would tell his wife, where he was the whole night. So thinking that, he started going towards his home. So we are going to continue what happens next. This surprised him because he knew everyone there. Their dresses too were of a different fashion. They all stared at him with equal surprise. In his confusion, Rip touched his chin when, to his astonishment, he found his beard had grown a foot long. So, when he reached the village, he met a number of people there. So, he met a lot of people, but he did not seem to recognize anyone. He could not remember any of those people. This surprised him. He was very surprised because he had been living in that village for a very long time and he knew everyone in his village for that matter. Their dresses too were of a different fashion. So the dresses that the people were wearing, they were very different. They all stared at him with equal surprise. And the surprise that Rip had when he was looking at those people, the equal amount of surprise was shown by those people also, because they did not know who Rip was. In this confusion, Rip touched his chin, when to his astonishment, he found his beard had grown a foot long. So he was very surprised. He was very confused what was happening. And in that confusion, he touched his chin. And when he touched his chin, he was very astonished. He was shocked to feel that his beard was a feet long now. A troop of strange children ran at his heels, hooting after him and pointing at his grey beard. The dogs too, not one of them which he recognized, barked at him as he passed. The very village had changed. It was larger and more populated. He noticed strange names over the doors and strange faces at the windows. Everything was strange. He began to doubt whether he was dreaming. Surely this was not his village which he had left but the day before. So there was a troop of strange children who ran at his heels. So a group of children who seemed to be very different to him, whom he did not seem to recognize at all. They came running onto his heels. So they came running close to him. They were hooting after him. Hooting. Now when supposingly, there is you're watching some sport and your team is winning, and in order to put the morale down of the opposite team, what do? We hoot for them. Okay, so hoot is the hooting sound. So rather than playing with him, rather than being good to him, rather than being, happy in his company, these children were hooting after him, and they were pointing and making fun of his big white beard. The dogs also in that village, he did not recognize even one of them. They were also barking at him. Imagine the dogs who did not bark at him ever, they were barking at him today. The very village had changed. So he felt that the village had changed completely. It was larger and more populated. So the village was very big and the population of the village was also very high. He noticed strange names. So the names on the doors were different. He did not know any of them. The people whom he could see in the windows, they were all totally different. He began to doubt whether he was dreaming. So he started doubting whether he was in a part of some dream. Surely this was not his village which he had left just the day before. So he thought that maybe he's come to a wrong village because he went from his village just a day before. Yesterday only he had gone to the top of the Catskill mountain, and today when he is returning, the village seemed to be totally different. It was with some difficulty that he found the way to his own house. He was expecting to hear the shrill voice of Dame Van Winkle, but he saw that the roof had fallen in, the windows were shattered and the doors were off the hinges. So it was very difficult for him to find his house because the whole village seemed to have changed. He was expecting to hear the shrill voice of Dame Van Winkle. Shrill, very loud voice, the way his wife used to shout. So he was expecting that he would hear the shout of his wife, Dame Van Winkle. But instead, what did he see? He saw that the house where he used to live, the roof of that house had fallen in. So the roof had also fallen of that house. The windows were totally shattered. They were broken badly. And the doors were off the hinges. What are the hinges? The corner, the hinges are those things with the help of which a door is fixed to the wall or to something else. So those are the hinges. So the doors were also coming off the hinges. Once again, he hurried out. God knows, exclaimed he, I am not myself, I am somebody else. I was myself last night, but I fell asleep on the mountain and they've changed my gun and everything's changed. And I can't tell what's my name or who I am. At this moment, an old woman walked up to him, stared at him and exclaimed, It's Rip Van Winkle. Welcome home again, you kind neighbor. So, once again, the moment he saw that house and the condition of that house, very hurriedly, very quickly he came out of that house and he exclaimed, he started talking to himself. He said that God knows, I don't know what has happened. I am not myself, I am somebody else. I was myself last night. So a day before, I was who I am. But then I fell asleep on the mountain. The moment I woke up in the morning, they've changed my gun. My village is changed. The people of the village are changed. I don't know who I am. And he was very confused. And at that moment, an old woman, so a very old woman came up to him and stared at him and looked at him and said, It's Rip Van Winkle. Welcome home again, you kind neighbor. So she said that finally you've come home back. Welcome. The people looked at her surprised. The poor man is Rip Van Winkle. It's 20 years since he went away from home with his gun and has never been heard of since. His dog came home without him. Nobody could tell where he was. I was then a young girl. So, the people looked at that woman with a lot of surprise that what is she talking about? Who is he? And then the woman introduced the people to Rip Van Winkle. She told them that this man is Rip Van Winkle. He went away from his home with a gun 20 years back. And ever since he had gone, nobody heard about him. His dog Wolf, who had gone with him, had returned home alone, but he could not be found anywhere. Nobody could tell where he was. And the old woman said that this was 20 years back and I was a very young girl at that time. Rip's daughter heard of this. She came and took him home to live with her. Soon, Rip made new young friends again, and once again he was their favorite uncle. So Rip's daughter heard this. She came, she took him to her home, and Rip started living with his daughter. He made new young friends. So he made friends who were younger to him in age, and once again he became their favorite uncle. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of the chapter. So like I told you at the beginning only, the chapter is a very strange one, something which cannot take place in reality. As we talked about a man whose name was Rip Van Winkle. He lived in a village. The village was situated on the foothills of the Catskill Mountains. He was very, very favorable, he was very much loved by all the people and the younger kids specifically of the village. The women used to take his help for their household work. The kids used to play with him. The dogs loved him and would never bark at him. He was a very helpful man who never said no to anyone at all. The only problem with Rip was that he was very lazy and he hated work. So, in order to run away, in order to escape from the anger of his wife, what did he do? He used to either spend his day fishing or he would go to the forest with a gun in his hand and would hunt for the squirrels or the wild pigeons. The only companion, the only friend that Rip had was his dog, whose name was Wolf. Although the dog was very courageous, was very strong, but whenever Rip's wife, Dame Van Winkle, would show him a broomstick or a ladle, he would start to cry. Dame Van Winkle used to scold him day and night because he used to spend his time, his day doing nothing at all. One day, in order to escape from the anger of his wife, he climbed onto the top of the mountains. When he was coming down, he heard somebody call his name. There he met a very strange looking man who was carrying a very thick barrel on his back. The man asked for Rip's help and he could not say no. Both of them continued to climb the mountain and reached a place where Rip saw a lot of other people. All of them were very strange looking, had different types of faces. Their dresses, their clothes were totally different. The man with whom Rip had come up the mountains was wearing, he offered all those people the glasses, the liquor in the glasses, and they drank it and they continued to play again. Rip, since he was very thirsty, he drank a few glasses of that liquor and he went off to sleep. When he woke up, he saw that his gun was now old and rusted. His dog was not there. He had a difficulty in getting up. And he just could not get over the fact, he was scared that when he will go back home, his wife is going to scold him. So thinking about that, he started coming down. When he reached the village, he saw that the village was totally different. The people of the village were not the same. The nameplates of the people had changed. Nobody recognized him and he did not recognize anyone either. The dogs were barking at him. The kids were hooting at him rather than playing with him. There was only an old woman who recognized him and told everybody that this man had left home 20 years back and he did not return ever since then. This news spread and Rip's daughter got to know of this and he started living with his daughter and he once again become the favorite uncle of everyone. So my dear students, with this we come to the end of the explanation of the chapter. Now before we move on to the back exercises, let us move on to the questions with which we had begun the chapter with. So what do you think made Rip sleep? So that was the liquor that he had drank was the reason for Rip's sleep. What do you think will happen when he returns to village? So what happened when he returned to village? The whole village changed. The people were not the same and nobody recognized him. What should Rip do so that people recognize him? According to you, what should Rip do so that the people would recognize him? He should tell them who he was, where he lived, about his family, about his loved ones. And would you like to be in Rip's place? Why or why not? So obviously, I don't think anybody of us would like to be in Rip's place, spend 20 years of our lives in sleeping and then coming to a place which is totally strange for us. So this is not something which any one of us would love to have.